Hi, I'm Barbara Custer, the Children's Coordinator at the Coshocton Public Library. This week's story is called Princesses on the Run. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful princess named Antonia. She had the most elegant dresses, played with the newest toys, and had the largest book collection in the entire kingdom. But for a reason she could not quite pinpoint, she felt bored. Antonia also had many friends, but they were never available for play dates. Cinderella was always busy cleaning, Rapunzel never left her tower, Snow White constantly had her hands full, and Sleeping Beauty was always too tired. As each day turned into night, which then turned into day, Antonia grew more and more restless. To cheer her up, Antonia's parents offered her more presents. They gave her more dresses, more toys, and more books, a fish, a cat, a dog, favorite dresses, a state-of-the-art computer, an elephant. But Antonia was still bored. As she stood in her bedroom, surrounded by all her presents, Antonia began to feel lonely. But what can I do? She asked herself. Antonia felt a bolt of lightning go through her, and she ran straight out of her room. She ran out of the castle, through the town, and straight into the deep, dark forest. With every step she took, she ran faster and faster, and her heart beat more quickly. Antonia did not recognize this new feeling in herself. Might this thing be the thing called freedom she'd read about? Antonia ran and ran until something long and soft brushed into her face. Looking up, she realized it was Rapunzel's long braid. Rapunzel, who had been trapped in her tower long enough, was also escaping. The two princesses clasped hands and ran through the forest, not thinking about what they had left behind. Antonia and Rapunzel ran and ran, but stopped when they heard a noise. "Ouch!" squealed a voice. Someone was hopping toward them, wearing a shiny glass slipper. It was Cinderella. "Take that shoe off and come with us," Antonia told her, to which Cinderella happily agreed. Antonia, Rapunzel, and Cinderella giggled and clapped as they ran and ran as fast as they could. When the three princesses reached a clearing, they found someone hanging 7 hats out to dry. It was Snow White. "Drop those and come with us," Antonia told her. She didn't have to tell her twice. Snow White kicked the clothes basket aside and quickly joined the run with her friends. The 4 princesses couldn't contain their excitement and cheered and laughed as they continued onward. "What on earth?" Sleeping Beauty said as she looked out her window. It had been years since she'd risen from her bed, but the laughter and cheers were enough to wake her from her deep sleep. "Join us," the group called out to her. The 5 princesses were off, running and skipping and ready to... Wait for me," called Little Red Riding Hood. She was on her way to her grandmother's house when she heard all the excitement. Now was her chance to run away. But Little Red Riding Hood wasn't the only one who heard the princesses on the run. Bears, deer, rabbits, and all sorts of forest creatures began crawling out to join the fun. Soon even the 3 billy goats Gruff had joined the procession. Suddenly, everyone came to a stop. They reached the sea, and there was nowhere else to go. "What are we going to do now?" Little Red Riding Hood wondered aloud. Antonia looked at the beautiful sunset. This was the best day she'd ever had, and she had at last found her friends. Maybe things could be different, Antonia thought to herself. She was no longer bored. "I should be getting home," Antonia answered at last. The others scratched their heads and thought about this. After all, who was going to tuck them into bed? So they nodded in agreement and took Antonia's lead. As everyone turned back toward their own castles and burrows, the princesses and their woodland friends chatted happily among themselves. "Yes, we totally should do this again," Snow White told the shy deer at her side. Antonia and her princess friends linked arms as they skipped home. They were happy to return and sang songs about their future. All except for Sleeping Beauty, who hadn't had this much excitement in a very long time. And when the princesses returned, everything was different. Rapunzel cut her hair into a much easier to manage bob. Her new do was so popular that girls from far and wide lined up to get their hair cut. Cinderella designed a funky new dress, and she became the envy of the entire castle. Soon she was trading her fresh designs for help with her chores. Sleeping Beauty discovered yoga. Suddenly she had way more energy than she knew what to do with. And Snow White could not stop running. She felt sure she could go farther, so she ran a cross-country tour. Antonia also felt refreshed after her run. She planned more play dates with her friends and decided to donate her old toys, clothes, and books. While doing this, she saw how incredibly lucky she was. Her very own elephant. Antonia had never had before realized how special that was. And when she wondered if her elephant liked to run too, Antonia decided there was only one way to find out. The end.